Hello, I'm Peter. I'm the developer of Horizon, and today I want to talk a little bit about creating masks for Horizon. As you can see, currently we have only a completely white mask, and since it has an alpha channel that is also white, we can see that Horizon is completely filled with water. So, what I do to create a mask, to get a reference, is I take a screenshot from above. So I switch to orthogonal view and top down, and I disable Horizon so I can see the terrain only. I zoom in as close as possible, switch to full screen, turn off the lighting, and then I just hit print screen. I switch to Photoshop, and let me quickly close my work file so we start from scratch. Any noises that I have created, let's all close it. No, don't save. And we create a new file. I press Ctrl N and hit enter. Press Ctrl V to paste the screenshot into Photoshop. And then I make a selection, roughly, and zoom in so I can see that all the edges are correct. Then I subtract from my selection and try to get pixel perfect the terrain. When you have the marquee selection tool, you can hold Alt or Shift to add or subtract from your selection. Probably it's the same in GIMP, but I'm not a GIMP user, so I'm not sure. What I do then is I go here to crop the image, and I can see this is 892, and I think I'm going to create a mask that is 10 times bigger than the terrain. So I go to the image size and switch it to 1000. Or no, I switch it to 500, sorry. And then I go to the canvas and scale it up to 5000. So now we have a canvas that is 10 times as big as the terrain. We will scale the final result down to 2K or 4K or whatever you might need. In this case I will go just for 4K. But we can work in any resolution as long as it's higher than the final resolution, so we don't lose any detail. We can see we have the terrain on a separate layer, and the background I want to have in black, so I press Ctrl I for invert. And then I create a new layer so I can paint, and usually I start out painting the water where I want to have the water. And I put it on top and bring the opacity a little bit down so we can still see the terrain. And I pick a white brush in good size, and I'll go here. I reduce the spacing a little bit so we don't get these bumps in the brush stroke. So I bring it down to maybe 17, looks okay. I have a tablet which makes this painting easier, but you can just paint with the mouse. It's basically the same, just a little bit more convenient with the tablet. So I look in the large scale and try to see everything, and then I imagine where do I want to have water. For example, we can see on the terrain that here on the edge we have a sandy area, and I want to have this as a beach. So what I do, next to the beach we usually have water, so I just paint here and try to create a nice lake, switching from the mouse to the tablet. And I try to imagine how this lake could look like, try to paint the outline, and then just fill it. With a tablet you're quicker to just paint the surface than to switch to the fill tool or it's just the same. You can, of course, just fill it. Usually to improve the edge of the lake, to make it a little bit more interesting, I switch to a smaller brush size and paint a little details here and there. Like a few peninsulas, you can switch to the eraser tool and check the brush settings. Should be hard. The size can be whatever you want, and then you just paint some peninsulas. I think that's the English word, I'm not sure, but yeah, like an island that is connected to the mainland. You can of course do islands as well. And the shortcut in Photoshop to switch to the eraser is E, and you can switch to the brush with B. That's quite handy to know. I'm sure in GIMP the shortcuts are similar, and if not, you can always, all these programs, you can set the shortcuts to whatever you like. Okay, let's say we're happy with this shape of the lake. Let's put a few other lakes in there. Now we can switch to the fill tool. The shortcut is G, by the way. You can click once again to get rid of any outlines. Then I go to the brush tool and improve the outline a little bit. And when you work with masks, you want to keep things on layers, so you can make changes easily and later have a separate file where you can just paste your work into the channels as you need them. But I will come to that. So now we have two big lakes. Let's put a few smaller ones. I like to have many lakes in the maps, makes it more interesting with the specular highlight of the sun. Fill it, brush, maybe an elongated lake, maybe down here. So the next thing that makes everything more interesting when you do a map with lakes and rivers is, rivers. I switch to a smaller brush size, maybe 6 or let's do 7. And then I usually like to connect the lakes with a few rivers. Try to do some meandering, so not just a straight line, which looks unnatural. And where the river connects to the lake, usually you have some kind of a delta. And also the rivers look better if you, every now and then you do maybe a double curve, and you can put some variation in the thickness of the rivers. Here as well, maybe make a little delta. Here, as the river has some kind of shortcut with an island. Here it's a little bit wider. So where else can we do connections? We can connect on this one here, and we can connect these two, these two. Here we have a long river. And maybe here as well. Now let's do the refinement. You don't have to be exact with this. Nature is never exact, so any human error is actually a good thing here. We put a few little pools of water. riverbanks. You can also play with different opacities and make shallow water. But since it's so far in the horizon, you don't have to go crazy. It's quite a bit away of the terrain. Oops, that was one too much. Oh, it doesn't like that. Okay, then we have to paint this outline away. It all comes down to the sensitivity of the fill tool, which you can adjust here with tolerance. Here we need a nicer delta, maybe more wider river parts, a little extra loop here. That looks okay. Here, this one is a little bit boring. And what you can also do is a very, very handy trick with Photoshop. Within the filters, you have the offset filter. This is the German name, but in English it's under miscellaneous and offset, I believe. And you can here set the offset, hit OK, and remember what offset you had. And then you can just paint connections that go outside of the screen, so it will be tileable. So let's look at it. I think we should connect these, and when I'm happy with it, maybe one more little mini lake. And yeah, then I go back to the filters, offset, and just undo the offset in the opposite direction. And you can see the connections go now outside of the image borders, and on the opposite side they connect, like in Pac-Man, where you go outside of the screen on the left side and come in on the right side. That's basically this is the whole trick behind any tileable textures. Most of you probably know this, but some beginners have asked this quite a lot. So let's say we're happy with our water mask. Let's take a look at the layers that we have, the layer textures, which you can do. You can do your own layers with Horizon, of course, but enable it back again and look at the layer textures. Layer 1 is like a few mountains with fields. Layer 2 are also a mountain and fields. So we break up any repetition. We use two similar main layers. Then layer 3 is fields. This is from a satellite image. And layer 4 is sand. And what we can do with the sand is we can create beaches around the water. And there is a nice trick in Photoshop. I name my layer here water. I can find it and maybe even put color to it, make it blue. And then I duplicate it. And now I double click the layer here to enter the layer effects. And what I like to do is to choose color overlay, put it all the way to black, and disable the water in the background. Our layer here should have 100% opacity now. And now I go to glow towards the outside. The name should be something like this. I don't know the English name out of my head. It's been a while working with the German version of Photoshop since a while. And I increase the size of the glow. I switch to normal mode and pick a pure white. And then I choose precise to get this nice fall off. And with the contour we can play a little bit to make a nicer fall off, more exponential looking. And yeah, the size, you can play with it, and you can go inside and maybe increase some graininess, and maybe the fall off could be a little bit stronger even, to get less pixels. Lower the opacity. Okay, and now we duplicate this once again, and this time I remove the graininess and bring down the size and up the opacity, maybe a little bit more size. Okay, and to get a little bit sand below the water as well, we can do a glow to the inside. Do the same, put the fill method to normal, bring color to white, increase the size, and let's play with the curve. Yeah, this looks quite okay. Maybe more sand, and precise as well. And since the masks work in additive way, so it's like a lerp. The topmost layer draws over the layers below, and the sand layer we can see is layer 4. So wherever this mask is white, it will overpaint anything that is below. And I like to have a little bit green below the water because it gives a nice green base color to the water. I found this to be nicer, so I don't fill everything with sand, which makes the water look more boring. So when we see this is now our sand, and this is sand 2, and we can select both layers, hit Ctrl G to put them into a group, and we can call this group, not group, sand, and maybe put the color like orange is fitting. And let's bring the water on the top and enable it, and we can see, yeah, it's filling, which is nice. What I like to do then is to add a little bit of sand, like desert areas, to the map, apart from around the water. So what I do is hit Control N to make a new file, and I choose 1024 in the size, and I go to Filter, Render Filters, Clouds, and then I hit go to this is Levels, I believe in English. You can hit Control L, brings you to the same thing, and then I narrow it down so I get some nice shaped clouds. You could have done this for the lakes as well, but you might mix some of these more procedural generation methods with your manual painting. This might be a little bit too much sand, too much desert. Yeah, this looks quite okay. Then I hit Control A to select everything, Control C to copy it. Then I go back here and hit Control V. Then I hit Control T for transform. You can also go to here to edit and transform, and I think there is scale, but Control T is the shortcut. It's good to know this one. You have to use it quite often. And I accept this transformation. Then I put it into the sand layer, and we can take this, select this one, go to filters, and offset it. We can just play around until we have some placement that we like. This looks okay. So this is sand. Let's turn off the water. Sand 3. Okay, now we have 2 layers. The other layers I do pretty much the same. So since the first 2 layers we have this green fields with hills and mountains, and here a very similar layer. I want to mix them just with a noise, so hit Control N, or actually we can just reuse this one, go to Filter, Render Filter, Clouds, and hit Control L. And this gives a nice 50-50 distribution, approximately. Control A, Control C. Go here, let's turn off the sand layer. Make a new layer, press Control V, Control T. Scale it up. And this mixes the base layer, which is layer 1, with the second layer. So where the mask is white, we will see this layer, layer 2. So 1 layer is missing, which is layer 3, which are the fields. And the fields I have set with the height map to be more or less flat. They just are very, very gentle changes in height, and the height is very, very low, so it's very black on the height map. This means I want to bring down the terrain around the rivers and the lakes. So I duplicate the water layer once more. Okay, and I quickly go in here to the sand, and I copy the layer effects. Copy layer effects is the English name, I think. Copy and select this layer and say paste layer effects. But here I want to have sand, and after the sand I want to have these green fields to surround the rivers and lakes. So I increase the size quite strongly, and I put some fill inside. And for the shine to the inside, we don't need to do that. Okay, this will be fields. This will be layer 2. Close the sand group. Disable the water, the fields, and I want to have some fields also around, scattered around randomly. So I go to Render Filter, Clouds, and once again hit Control L for levels. Maybe not too many fields. This looks quite okay. Maybe harden the edge even more and put the blur on it. On the blur filters, I use the Gaussian blur, 5 pixels, maybe more. And here we can do the same to check we don't get any harsh edges. We can go to offset filter, and here we can see we have some artifacts. So let's go inside here and pick a soft brush, put the hardness down, size a little bit more, and paint over these places. If you have any artifacts, they are not dramatic, probably not even noticeable in the game view. But if you want to make it perfect, you can do this. Then let's Control A, Control C to copy all this and put it over our fields, or put it below our fields with Control V. and Control T for scale, and scale it up so it fills our full canvas. Hit enter, and let's do the offset filter again. Yeah, I think I can live with that. That looks quite nice. So here we have these two layers are our fields. This will be fields 2. Hit Control G, colorize this with green, call the group fields. And let's bring the layers in the same order as we have them in Horizon. So water is on top, then we have the sand, then we have the fields, then we have layer 2. And layer 1 is just basically everywhere. We can disable our terrain reference. We don't need it anymore. And maybe let's check our sand layer if it matches nicely with the terrain. Let's bring the terrain on top so we can see it. Yeah, so we can see here our beach area follows the sand on the terrain, which is quite nice. And if you have here big mountains or so, you can of course paint the layer that you need on this area, or have green fields and surround it with green, just as you need it. You basically you have 4 layers and you can do whatever you want with them. So let's disable the terrain. Let's create a new file, or first let's show our layer 2. Hit Control A, Control C, Control N for new file, and hit OK. Now we go to the channels, pick red, and hit Control V. We go back to the layers, to the work file. Select the fields group, enable it, and here this one is new, so we hit Control A, or actually everything is selected already. We can hit Control Shift C to copy everything, not only the selected layer. It will take a while since the file is 5K. Okay, this is done. Now we can go back to the other file, go to the channels, go to the green channel, hit Control V. And did I pick the right layer? I believe I have picked the wrong one. Fields, sand. No, it's correct. Now here comes the sand. Control A, Control C, or Control Shift C. So we get everything. Go to the channels and the blue channel. Control V to paste. Go back to our work file and disable the sand layer, enable the water layer, Control A, Control C. Here it's only one layer and we have it selected, so Control C will be enough. And go to the channels of our other file, and we create a new layer here, down here. This is just black alpha channel now. We hit Control V while it's selected to paste our water. And yeah, our mask is pretty much finished. We might have to do some adjustments, but this is a pretty good mask that we can bring over to Unity. So I hit Control Shift S to save as, and I have already here one that I can replace. So yeah, I will replace it, and I make sure that alpha channels are included in the save options. Hit OK. I switch over to Unity. It's loading, and you can see the mask has been replaced. And let's enable the light again, and let's switch to perspective view and just rotate the view, and we can see the result. And it looks quite nice. Probably we don't need to do any adjustments even. The lakes look nice. Let's check it out in play mode. Yeah, I think this looks quite nice. Here we have a little bit pointy mountain that we could paint away with a vertex painter to lower it, or we could change the mask, or we could move things around to find a little bit better shape. Yeah, and I think I like this, especially when we move the sun, to give some highlight on the lakes. Looks quite nice. Maybe play a little bit with fog, try out the snow. Yeah, I think it's quite nice. You could already start to populate your horizon with objects, buildings, trees, rocks, other mountains from any background mountain packs or your own creations. And it would give a spectacular result. So what you can do is when you move horizon around like this moves the layers and this moves the mask. So hit reset and just move the layers around. You can go press pause, go to horizon, and let's check if we're still good. Yes, you can go down here and save the current settings. Another thing about the mask, which was adjusted correctly from the start, is the scale of the mask and its offset. So since we have a terrain that is 1000 meters big in this case, when we disable horizon, you can see this is our terrain and its size is 1000 meters. And like I said in the beginning, I wanted to create a mask that is 10 times as big as the terrain. I have chosen 10,000 meters in scale. And since I wanted to have the terrain in the middle of the mask, I offset it by 5000 meters. But you can offset the mask and do some fine adjustments if you need to. So to maybe move it a little bit over. And of course you can offset and tile the layers as well, but I will create a separate video on how to create layers. And you might ask yourself how the displacement works together with the mask. I will create a separate video for that as well. But in a nutshell, each of these height maps just correspond to one layer, and they are combined into one texture to so we do not waste any resources, and to be able to have 4 layers with horizon. Okay, maybe let's take another look at the result. Yeah, and maybe another thing to just quickly demonstrate before I wrap up this video is, if you need to do any changes, you just go back to your work file. You might want to save this so you can come back to it later. You just paint on it or do modifications to it, and then you just paste it again into the right channel of your mask. It's not any black magic or so, it's quite simple. But for beginners it might be something they don't know. I hope this helps, and I think the most useful tricks that not even more advanced users might not know or didn't think about is the idea to create these water outlines with the layer effects, with the glow to the outside, glow to the inside, and have this color overlay and things like that. This is also very helpful. You can be more advanced with the masks if you, for example, here we have the river flowing through the desert, and you might want to erase some of the sand here to have a green surrounding around the river in the desert, because yeah, the water will vegetation will grow in these areas. But yeah, this was a quick demonstration, and I hope it helps. If you have any questions, let me know. Post in the forum if you need help. And yeah, see you soon. Goodbye.